Success is a choice, so why choose to excuse yourself from it? Excuses are your fears in disguise. They're arbitrary reasons for you to not start, continue, or finish a project or exploration. And we all know that some excuses make sense. For example, if you broke your knee, you probably couldn't make it to soccer practice. But that doesn't mean that every excuse is valid, and I want to talk about the excuses that aren't. Excuses are not good for us, and we actually acknowledge it quite often. That's why you feel guilt after telling your boss that you don't feel good and you don't want to come into work when in reality, you just want to lay in bed all day. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking the day off, but ask yourself why you're actually excusing yourself from going to work. Maybe there's a disagreement between you and a coworker that you need to resolve, or you don't feel like you're a good fit for the job and maybe you're not doing as well as you wish. How do you face those kinds of fears in order to be successful? In this video, I'm going to draw our attention to 5 common types of excuses and fears that hold us back from achieving our goals and how we can overcome these fears so that way we can continue to become our best self. For this information to be helpful, I need you to start thinking about your fears in a different way. I want you to think about one of your fears as your most stylish and comfortable sweater. It once saved you from an extremely cold day, and after that it became a reliable choice for you to wear on a chilly day. But as time goes on, that sweater gets itchy and scratchy, and maybe it doesn't fit like it used to because it shrunk a little bit in the wash, but you keep on wearing it because you know it brings you comfort in knowing that you'll always stay warm. But one day that sweater will wear out, and then you'll look back in your closet and realize just how hideous that sweater was. Now that brings us to your favorite, most hideous sweater number 1, the fear of judgment from others. The fear of being judged is a common one, and it feeds a lot of our excuses. We tend to take it personally when somebody disagrees with an idea we have or a project that we made, and we take it to heart because we associate our ideas with our sense of self. So when somebody says they don't like your drawing, it feels like they're saying they don't like you. Then when you go to make your next drawing, you won't even want to start because you'll have learned that people may not like it. Your brain learns a lot from experience. So if you have experienced something like this, then your brain will start to assume that the next time you do it, you'll fail again. So what's the point in starting, right? That's what we tell ourselves, and that's how we excuse ourselves from starting a project. And that's unfortunate because that means the world is missing out on your unique and valuable perspective. Now, to face the music, you can start by doing the work with no intention of sharing it with anybody. That way, there's absolutely no pressure and you can still get the project done. Just let your passion take lead and see where it goes. And then, after the project is done, decide whether or not you want to share it. Chances are, you're probably not going to want to keep it hidden after all that work. And you'll grow to be comfortable with that idea. So if you share it with somebody else and they don't like it, at least you know that you put a lot of effort into it. Now, if you're still shying away from putting it out there, then I want you to talk about this idea or project out loud. I want you to tell somebody who is either a trusted person or a family member or even your dog. And sometimes just saying it out loud and talking about it to yourself or an inanimate object or AI can really help you process those ideas. There's a reason why there's the saying, dance like no one's watching. It's because we're able to have our project out into the world in a small way, even if it's just to ourselves, with no strings attached. Now that leads us to our second inhibition that stops us from achieving our goals, and that is the fear of being a beginner. Similar to the last one, this has to do with judgment. This time, it's the judgment of ourselves. We are often really hard on ourselves, and when we're not not good at something right away, it can be disheartening. You may be thinking that you're not qualified or ready to pursue your ideas yet, or maybe you think you're just too much of a perfectionist and it would take way too long for you to get everything just right. Not knowing how to do something can be really frustrating because our brains most of the time just want to skip to the good part where we're amazing at everything. But the beginner phase is very, very important. And being a beginner does not mean that you can't start. In fact, if we don't, then we'll always be a beginner and you'll never make progress. And that's why using inexperience and perfectionism as excuses are not valid. When we fall short of perfection, it feels like failure, and we treat it as such. To overcome this way of thinking, you need to think about your mistakes as positive learning opportunities, because they are. You can't kick yourself for not being born knowing how to drive a car or manage your finances. It takes time and it takes practice. Also, learn that asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength, and it's a really valuable skill. When you let yourself struggle with no help, you're not only wasting time, but you're putting more roadblocks in your way. And if this is how you start projects, then of course you're not gonna want to do them. So, let yourself learn from your mistakes, and when you need help, ask for it. People are way more willing to help you than you think, especially if you're pursuing similar goals to them. Alright, our next category of excuses come from the fear that our goals are too ambitious. Setting unrealistic expectations is a major culprit to procrastination, and not to mention, it's a major vibe killer. This can feel pretty impossible to overcome. But the problem is not that our goals are too big or unreachable, it's just that we're imagining the steps to get there as really, really big steps. So many people are victims of overcomplicating their goals, and this naturally feeds the cultural stigmas against following big dreams because everyone thinks they're too hard. And this leads most people to settle for something that seems sustainable and easy, but what they don't realize is that if you make one small choice towards your goal every day, then it would be the same amount of effort as if you went the easy route. For example, writing a book sounds like a lot of work. You'll have to deal with the writing of the book, the publishing of the book, the manufacturing and the selling, and it feels really overwhelming. But if you instead made your goal to write a page a day, then you would have an entire book written in roughly a year, which is pretty good. And if you spent the following days looking for one publisher, one manufacturer, and one marketplace, then you're guaranteed to find options that fit your needs. Before you know it, that book will have buyers from all over the world with readers that absolutely love it. But if you don't make those small decisions and you're just spending all your time dwelling over the big decisions, you're gonna be left with no hope of ever becoming an author. No goal is ever too big. You just have to break it down into smaller and more manageable pieces so that way you can achieve the goal in a sustainable way. And if you do take these smaller steps and you reach that big goal, then every goal after that is going to seem a lot easier. After we get over our fear of our goals being too ambitious and unrealistic, then we can start to avoid excuses where fear is disguised as logic, which is number 4 on our list. These kinds of excuses are especially tricky to get rid of because they actually feel like inhibitions that you can't get over. You could have the motivation and the drive to do the project, but you feel like there's obstacles that you can't control in your way. You may tell yourself that you don't have the resources or time or skills to get your project done, but this is all in your head. But you may be missing out on easier ways to get started with your project that don't require anything fancy or special. Let's say you had an idea to invent a product, but then after doing some research, you realize that it's already been made before. This typically will kill your motivation completely, and you may not even want to start the project because you know somebody else already made it. But your interpretation could be better, so it is worth it to start. Or maybe you have an invention in mind that doesn't have a specific purpose yet, or you might not have the equipment to make a prototype. Whatever the case is, these seemingly rational roadblocks are not as logical as you think they are. When you lack the time, resources, and skills to complete a project, then you have to be really creative about how you can still get the project done. Set aside a few minutes a day to dedicate to pursuing your goal. 30 minutes, a pencil, and a piece of paper is all you need to get started. When you can't complete a project, write about it instead. Like I said before, break down that really big goal into smaller, manageable steps on paper so that way you can have the visual reminder of your goals and you'll have the perfectly set out steps to get there, so that way you can properly save up the time and energy and resources to reach those tiny steps. It may be helpful for you to carry around a notebook or a notepad in your pocket and just write your ideas down as you go, because that's also a time saver, so that way you don't even have to put away the 30 minutes, you just do it throughout the day. Writing about your goals will majorly improve your focus on the goal as well. Our fifth and final category of excuses stem from the fear of change. Change can be scary, especially if you feel comfortable in your current situation. And when you have an idea that could cause a major change in your life, it can feel really intimidating. This kind of fear can majorly hinder your progress towards success, and sometimes it even makes you afraid of achieving success. Maybe you're willing to start a project, but after you get going, you realize that you may not know how to deal with the responsibilities of success if it does happen, or you feel unsure about sacrificing a good thing to pursue a different goal. For example, let's imagine that you just got a really good raise at your restaurant job and you became the manager, but your passion really lies in becoming a musician. Your friend calls you up and they say that they have an opportunity for you to sing and play the guitar at a local venue, but it's scheduled for the same time as your managing hours. On one hand, you could go to your job that day and make a good amount of money and have the comfortability of stability in your job. Or you could take that baby step in becoming a musician by playing the guitar and singing in front of an audience for the very first time. Your brain will tell you that going to work is the rational and practical choice, and your brain is always trying to keep you safe. It doesn't want to put you in any situations that have unexpected outcomes. But if you don't take this gig, then you may not have the opportunity to do it again for a long time. And even if the opportunity arises again, your brain will know from experience to choose the safer option because you did it before and it worked out just fine. Your fear of change is getting in the way of you pursuing your dreams. So, to lessen the anxieties of change, you just need to acknowledge that change is happening all the time and you're adapting constantly. When you run out of shampoo, you go to the store and get a new bottle. Or when it becomes unexpectedly windy, you just wear a jacket. Change is only scary the first time that it happens, but once you know that you can get through it, it becomes a lot easier next time because you're prepared. But in order to be prepared, you have to go through that first mental hurdle. And when you do, you'll realize how necessary that change was and how much happiness it can bring you. To put it into practice, you can make one small change with very low risks and try it out. It could even be something random that's not even connected to your bigger goals. For example, you could buy an outfit that you would normally be too afraid to wear, or even just buy a different brand of toothpaste, or painting your nails a different color, or getting a different haircut. Once you desensitize yourself to making different decisions and coping with change, then it'll be way easier for you to accept the changes that come with following your dreams and pursuing your goals and ideas. This is simply just exposure therapy, and there's a reason why it works in psychology. Alright, those were the 5 kinds of excuses and fears that constantly get in our way of achieving success, and hopefully my tips will help you overcome these kinds of fears, so that way you can continue to be successful and find happiness and fulfillment. And if I want you to learn anything from this video, I want it to be this: you are the only thing standing in your way. When you let excuses and fears drive your decisions, you're wasting your one precious life deliberately avoiding your goals. So I want to personally challenge you to do one thing that scares you this week. Face one of those fears that are inhibiting you from completing a project or an exploration, and let me know what those projects are in the comments. Remember, the only difference between a successful person and a non-successful person is the willingness to overcome fears. My name is Lillian McEwen, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know your thoughts. See you in the next one.